Reason, Professor N.K. Masi, Mr. Hello. Hello. I request our guests to please be on stage as we are going to start our daily. Sri Sanjay Dixit sir, Professor N.K. Pandey, Professor Devrat Sharma, Professor Deepa S.P. Mathur. Please welcome them with a big hand round of applause. Good morning everyone. I hope you all had a wonderful day once. And similarly, with that same amount of joy, same amount of enthusiasm, we are now inviting you and welcoming you on our day 2. With that, I'm really happy to see your faces full of same curiosity as well as excitement. We welcome you with a very warm heart. Thank you for being here. I hope you all had your breakfast. I welcome you on our day 2, where we continue our insightful discussions on decolonizing narrative and interpretation in literary and cultural studies. Ladies and gentlemen, we now move forward with our plenary session 2 of our conference. This session promises to offer deep insights into our theme as we hear from eminent scholars on the need of decolonize our culture and literary perspectives. This plenary session 2 is going to be an insightful discussion on decolonization, cultural identity, and reclaiming heritage. This session will be chaired by esteemed Professor Devrat Sharma. We are honored to have Dr. Devrat Sharma as the chair of this session, a distinguished professor of English at SPNKS Government PG School, Dosa, as he is a bilingual poet, as well as short story writer and a critic, with work published in Sahitya Academy, News, India, and the Same. A recipient of UGC Teacher Research Fellowship, Dr. Sharma specializes in Indian literary theory, aesthetics, and film studies. As the director of Achieve, he actively promotes art, culture, and education. With his expertise, we look forward to an enriching discussion. Sir, we welcome you, and we are happy to see you here. We are honored to have our two distinguished speakers, Sri Sanjay Dixit, who will speak on Can We Drop the Colonial Baggage? From Colonial Myths to the Reclaiming Heritage. Professor Kishore Pandey, who will share his insights on cultural nativism for decolonization. This promises to be a thought-provoking session as we invite you all to engage with these important discussions. Let's begin. As we prepare to begin this significant session, we take a moment for Aditi Satkar. India is known for Aditi Devo Bhava, and we are honored and pleased to have all of our guests here. To commence, I invite Professor Deepa S.P. Mathur, convener and head of the English department, to felicitate Professor Kishore Pandey in recognition for his scholarly contribution. ma'am. Next, I request Dr. Aditi Kalra to kindly honor Shri Sanjay Dixit as a mark of our appreciation for his time and his life. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. And finally, I invite Dr. Arun Singh to felicitate Professor Decolonising Sharma, our session chair, for his invaluable presence and guidance.
This one seems better.
Thank you, sir. It is our honor to invite our very first speaker of this plenary session to Sri Sanjay Dixit, who will be delivering a thought-provoking talk.
I'll put in a word before the session starts.
Yes.
Good morning, everybody. Namaskar. And to begin this session on a lighter note, I was reminded with the gathering here yesterday and today as well, how aware our students are. This reminded me that some 35 years back, I was a postgraduate student at St. John's Higher Class. So there were two words in vogue at that time, postmodernism and post-colonialism. And it took us quite a while to understand that postmodernism was all embedded in modernism, and post-colonialism had too much of colonialism. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's our honor to invite our first speaker, Shri Sanjay Dixit. Sanjay Dixit will be speaking on the colonial baggage, from colonial myths to reclaiming heritage. Sanjay Dixit, a retired 1986 batch IAS officer of the Rajasthan College, was previously a merchant navy engineer. He holds degree in marine engineering, law, and 3 master's degree in Indian classical music, economics, and software system. A seasoned administrator, he has held key position in Rajasthan's Cricket and Tennis Association and served on the BCCI Finance Committee. A best-selling author, his works include Krishna Gopeshwar, Krishna Yogeshwar, Unbreaking India, and All Religions Are Not the Same. His YouTube channel has over 1.7 million subscribers. We are privileged to have him with us today. Sir, the stage is yours.
Namaste. Professor Decolonising Sharma, Professor Pali, Professor Sanjay, and other dignitaries on the stage. I'm honored to be here and also a bit surprised because very rarely I'm called upon to speak at universities. So I'm called upon to speak in any other form. Universities really want me to their discourse. So thank you, Professor Martin, for being here and giving me an opportunity to interact with our young students. The topic is very broad. And I have about 30 minutes to deal with it. So, it talks about how can we drop the colonialist baggage? Of course, the short answer is yes. But then I think the corollary would be how. That, of course, is very, very long subject. only to of the colonial act, because for that you have to get the definitions right. The definitions of what is colonialism, who is the colonizer, and what is coloniality. So one is a state of mind, the other is the strategy or the tactic, and third, of course, is the person. Like you have, pramana, prameya, pramata. So the same way, you have divided it in its three dimensions. So, the second part of this subject, it says that what are the myths and colonial myths. But I think the easiest way to address this is to discuss a few myths and how those colonial myths were created, how they gained ground, what is their present status, and how people are pushing back against them. Behind every colonial enterprise or colonial endeavor, there is a colonialist. And the colonialist has its own objectives. We have seen that we have had in our past colonizers, we have had Islamic imperialism, we have had the British imperialism, and now we are having what is called the global imperialism right now. Of course, global imperialism is now getting dismantled in the West also. There is a pushback against global imperialism, even in a place like the United States. So that comes as some kind of example of how global agendas or global imperialism can be dismantled. But have we learned from it? What are our specific issues? Let me take a few current happenings. We have right now a certain chief minister in a certain state who suddenly raised the bogey of language. He says that okay, there shall be no imposition of any language. That's perfectly fine. Even in the national education policy and the framework, I don't think there is this talk of imposition. In fact, that's why it says that okay, there is an ideal. The ideal is the language, and one language, unfortunately, is still English. I will speak in English because I am speaking in the English department. So that's okay. And one is English. The second is your own state language. And the third is any language. So any language is twice. But the gentleman brings it back to what is called the Dravidian Aryan division that they created. Who created it? That also is not history. It was created by such a gentleman who first created the Aryan division theory. And the Aryan division theory, normally, when you have a theory, then you first have a theorem, then you have a proof, and then you get the theory. But because it was imposed by colonialists, there was no proof. It was asserted dogma, said okay, there were the Aryans who came from abroad, who came from Caucasians, and they had language called something called Proto-European. And then they came and they drove away the natives. And after driving away the natives, they imposed their language and culture on them. This was the thing. First came from first came from Max Muller. And after Max Muller, a number of people took it up, especially in the south of India, where church took it up. And you have the famous clerics like Bishop Cornwell and some other bishops who carried it forward. They created the Dravidian and Aryan narrative. They even created continents, Lemuria and Gondwana lands. That is why, when you some of these Dravidian enthusiasts, Lampoon them and call them Lemuria states. Where do they think of this? Because they were the ones who originally started here. Since there was no proof, I started looking at this little intensely about 5 years back. And going deeply into it, I found that there was really nothing, except there was some biblical theories, and there were some other theories that were manufactured in Germany. So I announced an award. That award was initially 10 lakhs. And slowly a lot of other people committed to go that award and grew to 2.1 crores. And the 2.1 crores, it was very simple. It said that, okay, anyone who proves the Aryan invasion theory gets this bus, sold bus. 2.1, not small. I even wrote to David Rice, who is the geneticist, and I wrote to Michael Wilson, who is a great proponent of Aryan invasion. Then they put it down. They put it down for quite some time back. They said, no, it's not Aryan invasion, it's Aryan migration. And now, of course, after much discussions, we have toned it down further. We say maybe in a few years they will start calling it Aryan tourism. We want to know which migrants in the past had the capacity, especially nomads, pastors, coming from steppes, to create a sophisticated language like Sanskrit language. The kind of sophistication that Sanskrit language has, it requires centuries of settled civilization. Even now, we have known history of thousands of years in India. But even now, there is no language which comes anywhere near Sanskrit in sophistication, be it Hindi or be it any other language. And even Hindi, if you see that there is only in the last 500 years or so that it has evolved from its dialects into its present form. So this was my passion with the Aryan invasion theory, which is now creating such divisions, or it's being used by certain people to create divisions. Why is it being used? Because, of course, right now it is political expediency, but the colonialists use it very differently. They use it differently for two reasons. One, they say that, okay, why should you object to us? Because after all, most of the people here have come from outside. If we have come from outside now, so where is the difference? Then, of course, it was used as a vehicle to impose their own narratives about us, about our history, about our social structures. But in many cases, the elites mostly were beneficiaries of the British rule. They invited and they spread it around. After 1947, a new elite came into being, and that new elite was very quickly changed into or transformed into the Marxist elites, and then they were later about pervading these narratives and producing deep self-loathing among the Indians. Because you cannot colonize civilization, you cannot colonize the people unless you reduce a certain amount of self-loathing in them. Unless they are told and they imbibe this idea that they are inferior and some other people are superior, then they will not take dictation from them. So to enable them to take dictation from the others, this self-loathing was ingrained into people. This is one. There are entire narratives in our history, our reading of history, then religion, society, literature, arts, cinema. Just a few examples. Where these narratives were created in a very sophisticated manner. Of course, the flavors were provided by the masses. After 1947, something very clever happened. After 1947, the Muslim League went to Pakistan, but a lot of Muslim League members remained behind. In fact, when partition was envisioned, someone like Dr. Ambedkar asked for total exchange and combination. That did not happen. Out of about 3.5 crores Muslims there, only about 72 lakhs migrated. The rest of them remained behind. But what did we do? Did we try to integrate them into our narratives, our heritage, our past? No, we didn't do that. We appointed Maulana Azad as the education minister. He didn't have a single day of modern schooling. He became the education minister. His first job was to integrate the Muslim League members into the Congress. That's what he did. And there were certain people who went about whitewashing the bloody history of our colonists, notably the Islamic imperialists. In the 19th century, it was a very fine volume written by Eliot Dowson. And I think it's called History of India as told by its own historians. And those historians are mostly who? They are mostly Muslim historians. Mostly. A lot of other historians also down the line after the Mughal period, you will also get some non-Muslim historians. But mostly those are Muslim historians. It is a fine volume, translated quite well. And the colonialists even at that time had an objective in mind because in 1857 they felt that okay, the leadership was provided by probably by Muslims, the Muslim elites. And because it was provided by the Muslim elites, so they thought that okay, they will actually produce a true account of what happened during Islamic imperialism. And thereby, it will be a good method to create a divide. Of course, the right was always there, but they thought they would accentuate it. Somewhere around 1916 or 17, there sprang up two schools of history in India. One was the Aligarh School of History. The Aligarh School of History was headed by Muhammad Ali. Who is Muhammad Ali? Father of Irfan Ali. I think Irfan Ali never retired in leadership. Father of Irfan Ali. And there was a gentleman in Allahabad, so that was Allahabad School of History, a British. I forget his name right now. These two people collaborated and they wrote fine introductions to Eliot's volume in history. And told them that okay, that they have the Islamic historians have probably in their over enthusiasm have done a lot of exaggeration. What kind of exaggeration they were, even today we know. Because whenever such a situation arises, exactly those kind of things happen, which have been described by the Muslim historians. We Khusro, what he did recently, the attempt to whitewash Amir Khusro and project him as a very Sufi. Sufism itself has a very bloody history in the politics. The greatest massacres that have taken place in India have all been inspired by Sufi states, so-called states. If you want examples, I will give you. So, Muhammad Ali started producing this kind of sanitized history. Muhammad Ali was in touch with Motilal Nehru. Motilal Nehru, he founded a party after the Khilafat movement collapsed. He founded another party, he went away from Congress. He founded a party called Swaraj Khilafat Party. C.R. Das was the president, Motilal Nehru was the general secretary. Muhammad Ali joined that party. So he also, besides being a Marxist and historian, he also became a member of an established party. Later on, Motilal Nehru merged that party into the Congress, immediately became its president, and Muhammad Ali came along. Same Muhammad Ali became a mentor to Jawaharlal Nehru, who wrote the discovery of India. And many of the myths that we talk about were perpetuated in that discovery of India, including what we wrote about Shivaji is not something that you love when you read. He was also a tutor to India. And therefore, after 1947, when the country became independent, the entire Muhammad Habib clan and his disciples, they came to occupy high positions in history teaching, in ISCR and such kind of institutions. What they did is eloquently described by Arun Shori in his book Eminent Historians. Since my time is limited, I leave it at that. But you could go to Eminent Historians and see how these things were created. In 1983, the National Integration Council, of all the places, a resolution was passed that Chhatrapati Shivaji was not to be glorified in our textbooks, because that sets some kind of wrong signal to the minorities. As if glorifying Aurangzeb would have been arrested at all. So, from that to today, where these historical narratives are being dismantled, being decolonized, mostly due to internet. I still do not find much institutional effort there, but because the internet provides an open platform, so you do get a rebuttal of those narratives, you start getting the true history. The impact has been such that there was a biography written, a Shivaji biography written by his contemporary, Ravindra Karman, while he was alive. That was translated into Marathi only about 1680 is the year Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj died. It was only 1928 that a Marathi translation of that Sanskrit book was brought out. So after nearly 250 years. And it fell to me to provide a Hindi translation in 2022. So you can imagine if one of the greatest heroes, Chhatrapati Shivaji's contemporary biography is not translated. I don't think it is yet translated into English. So if you require 350 years for his contemporary biography to come out, then imagine the hold of the colonialists over your own narrations, your own narratives. The third sphere, of course, is religion, because after 1947 we have all been told that all religions are not the same, so they are not. I have written a whole book on all religions are not the same. So, since there isn't much time, I will leave it at that, and if you want to go deeper into it, you could profit by reading into my book. I have detailed how religions differ not only in their purpose, in their time concepts, in their logic concepts, in their cosmology, in their psychology, every sense, every way. And then similarly, all this has seeped into literature. The literature also these days is mostly into binary, oppressor, oppressed. In Hindi, you look at the Hindi literature a little bit. I found the fine poetry that was being produced in the 30s and 40s. They became fascinated with books and all the beauty of that poetry itself. Because we all know that at that time how poetry used to influence our literature and our practice. Growing up, I remember in the 70s and 80s, the Soviet literature used to be the one that was most easily available and at very cheap rates, very cheap prices. And we found that we were interested and we were able to supplies. That was another effort from another corner. Then you got the globalists, of course, the global state system, always progress. In the West, from the kings, you came to the state, democracy, and to democracy also is actually the rule of the same God that was infused into the kings, then to state, into a democratic state. You never try to learn what kind of political systems we used to have. That is something that we need to know and we need to learn or relearn. Well, over time, I will pause here if there are any questions. I will be happy to take